In this video, I want to introduce you to modules. Now, we've talked a number of times already about extending your site through modules. And so far, we've covered some of the modules that come with Drupal. We've actually even installed a module. We installed Devel earlier in the course. But now I want to talk to you about how you evaluate and find great modules. Head on over to drupal.org/project/modules, and you'll see that there are 36,723 modules available for Drupal. Now, the first thing you need to know is that modules only work with the version of Drupal that they are written for. So the first thing we need to do is change the core compatibility to Drupal 8. Go ahead and do that and click Search. At the time of this recording then, 2,737 modules match the compatibility of Drupal 8. Secondly, these modules on this page are listed or sorted by popularity. So you'll see that the top module for Drupal 8 at this point is the token module. Token and Path Auto work together to create human-friendly URLs. The next most popular one is CTools, which again is required by Path Auto and Token. But then beyond that, Admin Toolbar, which I really love, is also really popular. So that's the first two things you need to know. Firstly, modules only work with the version of Drupal they're written for. And secondly, this particular page is sorted by most popular, or here, most installed. You can change that to title, author, created date, release date, or last build. So how do we find great modules? Well, Google is always your friend, but once you land here at the project page, you need to know if this module that you've found is really worth using or not. I'm going to click on Admin Toolbar, and I want to give you a simple acrostic, DMV. If you've ever been to the licensing bureau to get a new license to drive or register a car, in most U.S. states, it's called the DMV, or the Department of Motor Vehicles. Well, keep that in mind. D, M, and V. D stands for documentation. M stands for maintainers. And V stands for versions. D stands for documentation, and all of the resources that are available here in the middle, as well as some of the links on the right-hand side. M stands for maintainers, the people that actually create and keep the module up and running. Finally, V stands for versions, and all of the version information is here. This particular extension is only available for Drupal 8, and so you're not seeing the other versions of Drupal here at all. So let's talk about this a little bit more. Documentation. Whenever somebody asks me, well, how do I use a module? The first thing I say is read the documentation. I can't stress that enough. There's no way to really know how a module works unless you read the documentation. And you can see that under here, all of the supporting information here, as well as some of the development information. There'll be more or less for any given module, depending on its complexity. M, as I mentioned, is for maintainers. Here's the Drupal developer who first created this particular extension, Wilfred Rose. He's been around for a long time. He's involved in a number of projects and has a fairly good number of commits. And you can see all of his personal information here. The other people that help him out here are listed as well. And depending on the project, you'll see a long list of maintainers or a short list of maintainers. The key thing here is, who are the key people and are they still involved? The last thing you want to see is a project that's been abandoned or is not being developed at all. I wouldn't recommend that one at all. Speaking of that, let's talk about V as for versions. You'll notice that this particular module is being updated regularly, and the latest development release is just a few days old at the time of this recording. So D, M, and V, really important. Let's take a quick peek at another module. Here's Display Suite, and if we take a look and apply our DMV acrostic here, the documentation for Display Suite is extensive. They have links over here on the right. What's here in the middle is important. They've got some update for Drupal 8. And then up here at maintainers, you've got Swentel with 1,371 commits. Last commit was 2 months ago, a week ago, a week ago. This is a module that's being developed extensively. If we come down to the downloads and look at the versions, the project information, it's actively maintained. It's under active development. 161,000 sites use it, so it's very, very popular. And as I mentioned, it's being maintained on a regular basis. So D, M, and V will always steer you right when finding new modules. So as I mentioned earlier, Google is your friend here. When I first started out with Drupal, I was overwhelmed by the number of modules that were available that did all kinds of things. So let's talk about how to find modules from the beginning. I'm going to head over to Google, and I'm just going to search for Drupal module, and let's say slideshow. And the very first one that comes up is the Views slideshow module. And I know it's a project because it's got drupal.org/project/views slideshow here. So it's a module. And if I click on it, well, then, of course, it allows me to see all the project information. If I go back, this is a comparison article on the different slideshows. So that's not a project at all. Slider, taxonomy term, this is not a project at all. But Flex Slider is project/Flex Slider. And so I'm able to go and take a look at those, take a look at the documentation, apply my DMV across it, and decide which one I want to try out. So Google is your friend. It'll really help you find the most popular modules for what you want to do.